Well, I'm speaking here with Beverly Fagan, who has put together quite a nice little rental deal. Beverly, I'm going to show initially your lovely face we started with, and then I'm going to go to the next slide, which shows Beverly finds a great rental property. Talk to me a little bit about this property, and we'll show some pictures inside. I think it is an ideal rental, especially the way you fixed it.
Well, I bought it through a wholesale company,
Mm-hmm.
and I was interested in that particular company because they, being my first deal, they offered help with finding contractors and support throughout the process. So I definitely thought that was going to be a benefit for me since I'm also new in the area. I just moved here to Tampa. And so, I was unfamiliar with, the contractors and the rules and permits and different things like that. So I thought that would be a good combination, working with a company that provides some support. And the home was owned by a retired couple, and they were in the process of wanting to sell and move to Puerto Rico.
Oh,
So
okay.
they had been living there for a while, and the house was kind of run down and needed, updating.
Yeah, you did a pretty nice job of that. I'll show some pictures of that. So you moved to Tampa. Where were you from?
From New York.
Oh my, there's a lot of people in New York like to move to Tampa, especially come winter.
Yeah. Yes.
I from New York myself, so I grew up in New York, but the Tampa market happens to be one of the best markets on the planet right now. First picture I'm going to show is the inside, where I believe you put in some tile. And is that what did you do anything in the front? I can't see the picture that well by the front door.
Well, the front room there was it's wood floor, so the wood was stained and whatnot. So I had it sanded and sealed again. So it was in decent shape. There were a couple of spots that needed like wood patching, but the floor it looked pretty nice, and that wood went into the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did to just freshen up the floor as far as the wood part. The rest of the house is tile, so really the tile just needed to be cleaned up, and I did change tile in the laundry area because the water heater had damaged the tile, so I did get that redone, and then I got to put a new water heater in there.
Uh-huh.
So.
And I can see the kitchen's a nice white kitchen here that you have, and I can see the flooring in this picture here. It looks very, very nice. This is a typical, type of a rental property that you would find in Florida, with the open look and feel, with the kind of circular openings or whatever between rooms, so it gives it a nice open feel. The bathroom, I really like the way you did this. A lot of people don't understand when you do a bathroom like this where you use a fiberglass drop-in tub and shower unit like that. Those things will take a licking and keep on ticking, because they can get pretty dirty, but you can clean them right down to like new status. And I think that the tenants like the fact that you didn't put in just a pedestal sink, but you gave them a little room there to store stuff, if you know what I mean. And that's very nice. Well, what I want to do, anything you want to tell me about this unit and what you did or what you went through with it, or?
Well, it didn't have central air. It had some old window air conditioners, and then of course the windows were, patched up with wood around the spots where the air conditioners are. So I really wanted them to have, just nice windows that would be operational, and I wanted them to have, I'm talking about them, I think about the tenant, so I wanted the tenant to be able to have central air. So I did put that in. The process, the whole process of the rehab took a lot longer than I expected. One of the reasons was that the air conditioning person who was handling the air conditioning, instead of it being a 3-day job, it turned into like a 3-week job. So that was, kind of a little bit shocking. But, just kept being sick or not showing up, or, I guess he had other jobs and whatnot. So that was a challenge. But the air conditioning turned out good. The windows turned out pretty well. I was able to get some windows. I only changed about 4 out of the 8.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to get windows from Home Depot that were in there, what they call the graveyard. And meaning that they were windows that somebody had probably purchased or returned right away, or they never took possession. So I got good prices on the windows, and I had somebody install them for me, and that worked out very nicely. What else happened? I did have termites. I found out I had termites in there, so there was some time that I had to wait to set up the termite treatment. That was like a 4-week. Had to book it 4 weeks out because they were very busy. It was termite season here, so they had a lot of business. So I had to wait for the termites to be able to treat them. But they're done now. And what else happened there? I did want to change the baseboard. The house had all different types of baseboards, so I said just to make it look really nice and uniform, I did change out all the baseboards so that they all look uniform. That was a little more expensive than I thought it would be, but it turned out to look nice. So those were the main things that were done in the house. I did do the floor over in the kitchen because I did the cabinets, the lower cabinets. They were in really pretty bad shape, and the countertop was in bad shape. So I did change out the lower cabinet, countertop, sink, and then I got a used stove, and I put that in there. So those were the changes that I made in the kitchen. So it just and the lower cabinets looked a lot like the upper cabinets, so that worked out pretty good.
Cool. Well, and I'll just show that picture again so that people can see that, where you can see the kitchen, those cabinets. It looks really, really nice. It's a nice, clean-looking kitchen, and I like that a lot. And it looks like it's now going to be easy to keep clean too, so that part is good. Well, a couple of things with Florida properties that people don't always understand, and I would like this video to be helpful to people who might be thinking about buying rental units in Florida, perhaps from you, because you know how to find them. The construction of the property that you have here, and I'll go back to picture 1 here so they can see. This is a very sturdy construction, and underneath that, I believe you've got cinder block, and in this thing here too. So it's built to take a licking and keep on ticking. And if you're inland just a bit, the hurricane winds, when they do come, if they're going to be in your area, they're in a pretty narrow band usually. And if they do come, they lose a lot of their velocity once they get inland. And you're what? How far? About a mile inland are you, or what are you roughly?
Probably 2 to 3 miles inland, I would think.
All the more.
Because the beach is about 15-minute drive.
Yeah. Yep, and I got properties the same like that distance too, not far from you. All right. The first thing I want to show people is that in order to do business in the rental business or any other, you really kind of want to have a company that protects you or shields you a little bit. And an LLC has the advantage, which you have here, the what is it called?
Advanced Services LLC. They're the custodian for my IRA. I purchased the property through my IRA.
Oh, okay. And well, with a LLC, when you do that, people do want to see, the bank wants to see certificate of organization to be able to have a bank account. Everything I own, except for my own home, is in an LLC. And the logic of that is an LLC allows, and you're doing this with your IRA, you certainly don't want to lose any tax advantages. And when it's done with a IRA, you pass through the tax advantages both of depreciation and of interest deduction. So that part is cool. So I was just showing the picture of the IRA. Now here is the HUD 1, and it looks like it's about $80,230 or something like that is what you purchased it for, thereabouts.
Yes.
And so buying it for 80 grand and putting in about 25 as you did to bring it up to speed is you've got 105 in it, and you're renting it for $11.50, and the 1% rule shows that you would be that you would need to in order for it to be a really profitable rental, you would want it to be, in other words, you would want to get 1%. If you got $1,050 in it, you want to get $105,000, you want to be able to get $1,050 a month, and you're getting $11.50. So you're already bringing in more than the 1% rule, and rents have a tendency to go up over time. In fact, every dollar that you increase rent increases the value of your property $100. And that's the way banks value your property, is based on what you're able to bring in terms of rent. And I think you did a really fine job of where you're not going to be putting a lot of maintenance into this thing. I would think that you would be able to continue for the next 20 years or so to keep your maintenance at or below 5%. I know I've done that with mine, had it for over 10 years, and I'm under 5%. So, and I did just somewhat similar to what you've done here. I think you did a good job, and I thought you were well coached by the people that you bought the property from as far as how to go about rehabbing it. The termite issue, I'm sorry to see you had that, and I want to kind of just alert people about termites. When I see termites, I'm like all over it, and I'm not letting anybody know about it. I'm just getting my handyman over there, and we're getting that done. Because when you have to do the proverbial termite treatment, that's a nightmare, and it's probably a significant amount of what money you spent was to do that in time and money. That's too bad, but termites are real. So, and Florida is famous for them. So, that's your HUD 1 statement. Next, what you have here is a general warranty deed, and that's what you want. A lot of people don't understand deeds, but any deed other than a general warranty deed is not a mortgage ready deed. Once it's got and as long as there's no liens or encumbrances afterwards, you're good to go. But you can always get liens and encumbrances afterwards. But the general warranty deed says that it's free of any liens or encumbrances, and it's warranted thusly by the title company or whoever their insurance company is. So you have that here. That's pretty cool. I see that you're working with your. I want to talk a little bit about this, because the secret to rental properties anywhere, Florida's no exception, is having a good property manager, someone that knows what they're doing and is honest and has a good reputation. Tell me a little bit about real property leaders.
Well, let me see, I'm trying to remember how I was referred to them. I think I was at a RIA meeting, and I was asking around who was a good property manager, and I was given that company. So having spoken to them, they just the gentleman I'm working with, who's my property manager, is Mark, and he's just really always available, always answers the phone. If I need any kind of advice, he was very helpful, and he's still helpful in any questions that I have. And then he charges 9.9%, I believe it is, and includes, all of the finding of tenants, and he doesn't charge extra for that. So he just, so he was, showing the property and whatnot. He put a good ad in the paper, not the paper, good ad on Zillow and the other rental sites, and wrote it up pretty well. So he was, he's good. He got me a good tenant in there. So she moved in the middle of, let me see, this is October. She moved in at the middle of September. So and her rent is paid up already.
I saw that she paid a partial for September, and then you've got a security deposit here of $1,150. By the way, people who are listening, it's important you get a security deposit with people. And if you're going to let them have a pet, then any pet deposit is non-refundable. And I know a lot of people who do a $500 non-refundable pet. And people will pay it. You know what I mean? They just, if they want a pet, they'll pay it. And you may not want to have pets, and I wouldn't blame you if you don't. But I've had pets in my properties, and it hasn't been a real big problem for me. All right, so I'm showing here that you've got your security deposit, that the rent's $1,150. That's a nice number for what you have invested in this property. It's going to be a positive cash flow property, and rents tend to go up as the inflation or whatever. But there you have it. So congratulations on that, Beverly.
Thank you.
You bet. What I have show here is that the title insurance is there. But I also wanted to make sure people understood the importance that you insure your property. I made the mistake once. I bought a property, and I called my insurance company 3 days later and got insurance on the property. But I was 3 days without insurance. And believe me, the mortgage company knew about that, because every time this went on for about 1.5 years before I figured out they weren't sharing with me why they were doing what they were doing or what they were doing. They just kept telling me that I was late, and so I was late on the payments. And what was sad about it wasn't really my mortgage. I had bought the property subject to an existing mortgage, and so every time I'd pay the payment on time, they would take $75 out for the 3 days that I didn't have insurance, where they issue what's called forced insurance. So you do want to have insurance. That's the whole idea. Protect yourself, protect your, against, losses to the property or liabilities of whatever kind that you could have. So it's very important that people understand that the minute that you take over the property, you want to have that in place, and you can get that in place with a simple phone call that I neglected once to make. So once burned, twice shy, Beverly. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I got vacant property insurance for the first, I think it was a 3-month period, and then I ended up having to extend it 1 more month before I was sure that I was going to be ready to rent it out. So I hunted around for insurance, and I really thought that I had good insurance at the time. It was a high level of liability coverage, and it was fire and theft, thinking that it was everything. But then right before the storm, I called to find out how much the hurricane deductible was, and they said, "You don't have hurricane coverage." I was like, "What?" And this was right before Irma. So, of course, I had to panic through the whole storm and, worry about that. But fortunately, nothing happened. But now I'm in the process of securing better insurance, that includes, it's costing a lot more than I was paying, but for the peace of mind, and because I live in Florida and, this is Hurricaneville, I definitely have to get the better insurance.
yeah, and it's sad because those of us that are inland, like you are really paying for the people that are closer to the shore. because you couldn't possibly afford the insurance if you paid what it was really worth when you're close to the shore. Everybody wants to live on the beach, but you don't realize that that ocean, or the Gulf in this case, is not always all that peaceful. So, there you have it. A couple other things I wanted to talk about here on this is the getting rental units. I want to introduce you and anyone who's listening to the concept of BRRR. I think you and I spoke a little bit about this before, but that means to buy, to rehab, to rent, and then to refinance. Your property, and you're taking it right out of your IRA as an investment, correct? Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that idea, because it's all profit, so to speak. Everything that comes in over your the expenses that you might have as far as rehab, repairs and stuff that comes along. So that part is pretty good. But to get a loan from the bank, if you can find properties, and I challenge you to do this as you go down the road, Beverly, both either for yourself or for other people, is to find a property that you can find it, you can fix it, and you can rent it, so that you can use cash money either from an IRA or from somebody who has money to put into a property to fund both the purchase of the property and the rehab of the property. And once you have your tenant in place and it's done, then you go to the bank to get the property done. Yours, I think, this with a 20% down, or whatever they are, whatever you call it. When you're doing a refinance, but I mean it's not down because it's a refinance. You're able to generally refinance about 80% of what the property is worth. That's the difference between a refinance and a purchase. Doesn't matter what the property is worth. When you buy it, the most they'll lend you is what you paid for it. But if you pay that and then rehab it and then get a renter in place, the value goes up dramatically. And you can create a breeder reactor of rental properties if you can learn how to find the right ones. And they're out there, and I think you've had enough experience now. My prayer is that you'd be able to get good at doing this and get some more, and either do them for other people who have money and collect a fee for doing that, or get people to invest in you based on what you've got going already, and move forward in that way. Well, anything else you wanted to add here?
Well, I will say that I was during the process. I to be able to call the advisory line and ask questions. Initially, when I first looked at the deal, I didn't know how to figure out the numbers. The 1% rule I didn't know about, so I was able to learn about that early on. So that's why I was going